After you have completed drawing your shapes on all four sides of your black square, you are now going to take your scissors and start to cut out your pieces. You are only going to cut out one piece at a time. You can't cut out all of the shapes, then you'll get them all mixed up and it'll be far more confusing. So you're going to cut one and then you're going to immediately glue it down. You have to place your square piece of paper back into your outlined square, and then you are going to line up the piece that you just cut out. That bottom edge, you're lining up with the outline that you had drawn onto your large colored piece of paper. So after you glue it, then you're going to cut out your next piece. Again, the reason you're only doing it one at a time is that if you cut them all out, then it's going to become a really complicated puzzle. You're cutting very carefully, trying to stay on your pencil lines. And then after you cut out the next piece, you have to place the square, the black square, again, back into the outline. But you have to line it up with your previous piece that you cut out. So I have to make sure that I'm aligning it with the previous piece. You're not going to want to glue it down this way. Nope, not that way. You have to line it with your first piece, and that's going to guide you on where to glue down the next piece. Now notice I have to make sure that it's like a puzzle. I have to flip it. It's a mirror image. So I first place it inside where I cut it, and then I'm flipping it over to determine which side I'm going to glue and how I'm going to place it. So not like that. I have to make sure that it first fits into the space that I cut, and then I'm flipping it. I'm first aligning it, so that's going to help me just know exactly where I'm putting it and which side I'm going to put the glue on. And then after I glue it, I'm going to place it, and flip. And I'm aligning that bottom edge with the outline, my pencil line, which you can't see very well in this video, but remember that was the very first step, is we drew an outline of the black square onto the inside of your large colored square. And then you're just going to be working your way around. In this next piece, I'm going to show you how, if you decided to incorporate a double shape, so that's a shape inside of another shape, you always cut out the big shape first. So this is a double shape. Again, I have to line up my square inside the square on the colored piece of paper. I cut out my big shape, and now I'm going to cut out the small shape before I glue the big shape down. So I have to place it in my puzzle, flip it, and then the inside shape I place inside the outside piece, and then it gets flipped back in. So that's a little bit more complicated, but it looks really cool when you do some of those double shapes. So you're going to continue this process, slowly working all the way around your black square, cutting one shape at a time, placing it back down, aligning it with your outline, flipping it to create a mirror image, and gluing it down. As you work, your center square piece becomes more and more fragile because there's less and less of it. So just be really careful. Take your time. You don't want the center black piece that you have left to break on you, although technically, if you run into that issue, you could glue it back together. But you are going to be using that and gluing what's left back into the center of the square when it's complete. So I'm working on my last shape that I'm cutting out, being very careful. It's a little tricky. Like I said, once you get down to very little bit of it left, it becomes very fragile. So notice that I'm making sure that everything is aligning before I glue. So just make sure all of your pieces are aligning before you glue, and you're placing it inside and then flipping it out. That's how you're going to make sure that each one is a mirror image. All right, so clearly I have one more piece here. Making sure that everything is aligning on that outline, that really light outline. Gluing my last piece down. Once I've glued my last piece, now you are going to glue what's left down to the center. So place it in there and then flip it so you know which side. You won't believe how many kids put the glue on the wrong side. So make sure you flip it into the palm of your hand. A nice little outline of glue. You don't want it swimming in glue. A little bit of glue, especially liquid glue, goes a long way. Do a nice little outline of glue over each little piece. And then what's nice about the liquid glue is you have a little bit of time to move it and adjust it before it really sets. So you can really get it, all of your edges onto that outline, that pencil outline that you drew, that very first step. Also making sure that it aligns with all of your shapes that you cut out. And then you're going to press it down and let it dry. Make sure you let it dry before you go in and erase any pencil lines. If it's wet and you're trying to erase, then all your little eraser shavings get stuck in the glue. So let it dry thoroughly, and then you'll go back and erase any pencil lines that are on your black pieces of paper, and also pencil lines that you use to outline that initial interior square. And that completes this project. I look forward to seeing all of your different Notan expansion of the square projects as you consider different types of shapes and balance in this abstract artwork.